Near Bashan, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Hey, thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have this chat. You have a really interesting background, quite unique for my listeners. I think I really do interview a lot of different people across industries, really from all over the world. But I haven't interviewed too many that kind of fit your type of profile. So this will be really fun. And today we're going to be focusing on fostering creativity in the workplace. Now, your work um, isn't necessarily specific to creativity in the workplace, more creativity generally, but that'll be how we frame things today. And I think, given your background that I'll share with listeners in just a moment, I think you'll have a lot of really great insights, and we'll have a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
As we get started, I just wanted to read Nir's bio for everybody. From working with Hollywood and music stars like Woody Harrelson and Rod Stewart, Nir Bashan discovered something that may shock you. These creative superstars aren't all that different from you or I. It's just that they have mastered a method of repeatable and predictable creativity, a type of creativity that anyone can learn. And it turns out that the same type of creativity can be used in business and careers everywhere. Nir has taught thousands of leaders and individuals around the globe how to harness the power of creativity to improve profitability, increase sales, boost customer service, and ultimately create more meaning in their work. Working with clients such as AT&T, Microsoft, Ace Hardware, NFL Network, EA Sports, Suzuki, Activision, and JetBlue, Nir has spent the last 2 decades working on a formula to codify creativity for business. That formula is found in The Creator Mindset, a book which has been translated into 2 languages and released worldwide by McGraw-Hill Business in August of 2020. Congrats on the book release. That is awesome. And I imagine you'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on throughout our interview today.
Yep.
And really an incredible resume and background, and I love the way you frame creativity as a practice that can be learned, that we can all do in consistent and sustainable ways. So that's how we're going to be exploring this today. As we get started, anything you'd like to share by way of personal background, context, anything like that for the listeners?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think for too long, Jonathan, creativity has been shrouded in mystery, right? People that have it, are untouchables, and they're so great. I wish I could be like them, and I'm not creative, and so on and so forth. And so I think it's really important to get the word out there that everybody's creative. It just takes the will to want to do it and a couple tools to help you out. And you could be as creative as those Hollywood and music stars. You just gotta, it's a practice. You gotta do it.
Yeah, and just like success in anything, it takes a lot of consistent effort over time, right? So
Exactly.
learn skills and consistency. And to go off on a little tangent for a second, recently I was watching The Last Dance on Netflix. You may or may not be aware of that show, but it's about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan and the 6 championships. And it just, to me, highlights, I mean, obviously Michael Jordan was an incredibly skilled athlete, perhaps one of the most talented basketball players of all time.
Yeah.
But he didn't just rely on his raw talent. He was a workhorse. He worked hard each and every day, and he pushed his teammates to work hard, and he really didn't accept anything but the best from everyone around him. And that consistency over time is what led to great success. It wasn't so he wasn't a flash in the pan. He wasn't just let's go in, show everyone how amazing I am. He wouldn't have lasted very long, and he wouldn't have had the success he had if he hadn't been consistent. And really what you're describing is the same kind of thing for creativity, that there is some raw talent that people have. I'm not a musician, I actually sing, but I don't play instruments particularly well. I dabble on the guitar is about it. So I'm never going to be amazing and creative as a musical artist. I don't necessarily have those raw talents, but I can foster creativity in other ways. And we all have our unique talents that we can leverage, and we can build off of our strengths and then create from there. So anyways, I think this will be a lot of fun. As we dive on in, um, why do you frame it as something that can be learned? Really, most people, I think, in society today think about creativity as this kind of innate talent or skill that they are born with or they're not born with. Why do you approach it differently, and how have you seen that be impactful in the workplace?
Yeah, definitely. So I've run my own companies and worked for other companies for a while, throughout my career. And I've noticed that the people who do well, no matter what they do in their careers, or in management or ownership, are people that are creative. And the people that don't do well consistently are people that are not creative. And so having had the benefit of working in Hollywood and working in the music business, traditionally creative businesses, I was able to sort of cherry pick different modalities. And those modalities are really not that unique. They are modalities that anybody can use to become more creative. And it was fascinating to me that, the street rep of creativity is, you either got it or you don't. And so I wanted to challenge that. I looked in the market, Jonathan, and I found that every book out there, all the courses are about the why. Why we should be creative, and it got me really excited because the why is important. To improve profit and to improve, workplace empathy and different types of relationship and organizational matters. And I got really excited. I was like, let's do this. And then I looked in the marketplace and I couldn't find any material out there about the how. It was all about the why. So I set out to write a book. It's called The Creator Mindset. It's got 92 tools in it, and they're honest to God tools, to unlock the secret to innovation, sustainability, and growth. And what the book does is it teaches people how to be creative. It's all about getting a pen and a paper, and sitting there and doing these exercises just like Michael Jordan. He would spend 2-3 hours shooting free throws. Did he need to do that? I don't know. He had natural talent, but it was more about grit and more about determination and more about a process. And I've seen that process from famous musicians, all the way to wonderful CEOs and amazing people on a career path that has been just leapfrogged by their ability to capture creativity. So I wanted to put out a book and put out a message to everyone that you can be creative too. Don't worry. Don't believe what you heard. You can be creative too. It just takes the will, and it just takes a few tools to learn how to do it.
Yeah, awesome. And if you don't mind, I'd love to just explore maybe one or two of those tools with you.
Totally.
But I thought I would just add, I shared the example of Michael Jordan from the creativity side, though. I remember watching an interview with Stevie Wonder a while back, and he talked about how he writes a song every day. So
Yep.
he just sits down at the piano and he just writes a song, and the vast majority of those songs never go anywhere. Obviously, he's produced a lot of really great music, but most of the stuff he writes, because he literally writes a song every day, never sees the light of day anywhere. But
Right.
it's just exercising the brain, flexing that muscle, just being in the habit.
That's exactly right.
And sometimes he strikes gold, other times he doesn't. Um, but ultimately he's in the process each and every day. And I don't want to hold myself up to a Michael Jordan or a Stevie Wonder, but when I think about myself and I think about times I've been successful with creativity in writing, for example, because I do a lot of writing, both academically and in the practitioner space. The time that I do my best writing is when I just am consistent. And some of my stuff isn't great and I don't end up using it, but other stuff ends up really knocking it out of the park. And I get a lot of, I can leverage it and I can get a lot of mileage out of it. But it's just making sure that I'm doing it consistently on a regular basis. And if I'm flexing that muscle over time, I get better at it, just like
Totally.
any other learned skill. And so many people have raw talents that they never fully develop because they're just not They don't have the work ethic. They don't have the consistency. I was also, I watched a video, I think it was on LinkedIn or something. Will Smith posted a video about his success. And in a nutshell, he basically said, you know, hey, you think this all happened to me just because I'm talented? He's like, no, I work hard every day. And he went through, you know, like 5 minutes of just describing what his day looks like and what he does and how he accomplishes everything and what his mindset is. And yeah, I think that's just it. Nobody finds success in life, or rather, I should say, no one finds sustained success in life through luck. You know, sometimes you can have a
No
flash in the
doubt.
pan opportunity, but you don't find the sustainability.
No doubt. Yeah, and you need a process, and that process is going to be customized for whomever is doing it. So I believe that creativity is part of who we are as human beings. You know, 50, 60,000 years ago, it was embedded into our DNA. I write about Harriet, the first cave woman, you know, who saw a stick and a little, you know, arrowhead or whatnot, and put the two together and fought the beast that was about to kill her, right? That was creative. Nobody ever thought of putting those two items together, but when they did, you know, they got amazing success. And that, I think, still, you know, over the generations is embedded into who we are. It's inside our bone marrow. And what we do is, as we grow older through, you know, school or society, we're told that creativity is not the stuff of the serious. You know, oh, it's music, or oh, it's art. That's not serious. You know, and for me, creativity is really art, and music and sculpture and fine art are like 1% of the creativity spectrum. It's where most of us start, right? We're in kindergarten drawing something, Jonathan, and you're drawing a pink tree and I'm drawing a purple one. And the teacher comes by and says, Jonathan, you know, trees aren't pink. And you go, ah, that's right, you know? And so, you know, you go on and on throughout life. You know, go to college, you're in grad school, and you know, these are analytical constructs, and we lose touch of that creative way to look at things. And so, you know, I consult and I do workshops and webinars with many, many companies, some of them that you've named, and a lot of them are really uncomfortable with thinking a different way. But for me, it is about time that we start looking at things in a slightly different way. We're, you know, operating largely on half of our potential. And we're constantly wondering why we can't get where we need to go. It's because we've stifled down the creative way of looking at things. We've stifled down soft skill. We've stifled down all of these wonderful and amazing intangibles. And I put it in quotes because they are tangible. They're just not immediately tangible. They're not, soft skills aren't immediately quantifiable. So we're like, forget it. It doesn't show up on a P&L sheet. Forget it. But don't forget it. Those are some of the most important things when, you know, looking at workforce development, looking at your career and saying, hey, I want to get to the next level. You know, Timmy has worked that job for 6 years and then he got promoted. I want to get promoted. Do I have to work that job for 6 years and then, you know, hope and pray that I get promoted? Absolutely not. Those are analytical mindsets. The creative mindsets will help you to uncover a lot of different, you know, maybe non-linear path to get where you want to go.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that at the end, because that's where I was going to go with my next comment. Good segue, and you read my mind. But the non-linear, I think most of real creativity, most innovation comes as we deviate from that kind of traditional linear path.
Yeah, A
Where
equals B, B equals C, that sort of thing. Yeah,
because
and our
because
economies.
we're just locked into a restricted mindset when we're going down a linear path,
Yes,
and we
yes.
and we just don't see the connections in other places. And so, you know, when I read articles about creativity and innovation, it seems like what it always comes back to is the ability for an individual or for a team to be exposed to new ideas, or applying ideas from another discipline or another functional area into their own area in new ways. So they're beyond the linear, they're open to the variety of things that are out there. And then they start to see new connections that no one's ever seen before. And it's those new connections that then they can exploit, you know, to create a new process, create a new product or service or whatever. And it just requires us to get out of our echo chambers, to get out of our comfort zones, to put ourselves in situations where we're going to interact with different people, different backgrounds, different thinking, different disciplines. Just it can be formal, but it can be organic, just so you have those chances to open the aperture of your mind and have ideas pinging off of each other. Then those connections come into place.
No doubt.
I know for me, something else I guess I was going to say in relation to that is just taking the time to quiet our mind so that we can be open to those the different perspectives and the different connections that are around us. And I know for me that a lot of times my most creative and what I would say are innovative ideas, they come out. I've been in a logjam. I've been thinking down one path for a solution for so long, and I've been hitting my head against the wall trying to figure out how am I going to do this, how am I going to solve this problem. And then I'm just out like walking my dogs at the park, and I'm just like quiet my mind. I'm just kind of enjoying the view and enjoying my dogs. And then I notice something. I notice a bird fly by, or I notice something in the tree, or I notice a kid playing soccer, and then it like triggers something. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm thinking about this all wrong. And all of a sudden I completely turn the problem on its head. I look at it from a different angle, and that's when I come up with a solution that is far superior to anything I had previously even considered. And it's just because I put myself in a situation to see new connections.
You're absolutely right. And so if walking the dog and getting those ideas is working for you, then, drive the truck through it, as they say, right? But for me, I think it's really giving people tools to be able to do that when they're not walking a dog, right? So you're on a plane, you need to send an email to a client or a customer, and you need to do it in 5 minutes. So you can't walk the dog. You need something that'll help you in that instance. And so I've set up all these little tools that you can use that will help you generate creativity. You're absolutely right. The fostering environment that we build in an organization to encourage creativity is really important, but without having the other end of it to feed ideas into it, you just have a receptive environment, but without the ideas and that creativity being generated.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so maybe one or two of your tools that you have in the book, would you mind sharing?
Yeah, definitely. So a tool that I really like that your listeners can use today is celebrating little victories. We are so bad, and this really comes from me because I'm terrible at it, of celebrating little milestones on the way to the big victory. I've had companies for a long time. I've been an employee before too. And I've always said, oh, to get promoted, I'm going to do this job for 1 year. My 3 year was going to get promoted. My 5 year was going to be, okay, I'll make a director or whatever. And so, I didn't celebrate those little victories along the way that happened on that path. And what ended up happening was I didn't ever feel like I was succeeding. I didn't ever feel like I was doing well. So creativity comes from looking at the little things that are going right. And that's what I highly encourage your listeners to do. There was a ice cream salesman many years ago, wanted to sell a bunch of ice cream machines, and that's an analytical construct, volume. We're going to sell a bunch. So we got lists and called and, did all this work to try to sell more machines. It worked for a while, but then like every analytical construct, it then soon failed. And he was wondering, why can't I sell more machines? And then he got a call from a restaurant, who was going through 2-3 machines a month. And he said, why are you going through two or three machines a month? They're like, well, we're making, a lot of milkshakes and with our burgers. And he was like, So he went to the restaurant, stood in line. The line was out the door, it was around the block. And he ended up having the best cheeseburger he's ever had in his life, Jonathan. And that guy was Ray Kroc, and the restaurant was McDonald's. Had he have just stuck to that main goal, my 3 year is such and such, my 5 year is this. Had he have just stuck to that, who knows what would have happened. But because he listened to the little breadcrumbs along the way that were telling him where he needed to go, amazing creative potential came out of that. So that's one tool your listeners can do today. I'm doing a webinar with a wonderful group, 300 people later this week. And literally, I'm going to ask them to get a sheet of paper out because writing stuff down, and I have this properly attributed in the book. I'll probably butcher it now because I can't really remember, but writing stuff down triggers a different portion of the mind that, invigorates different parts of the brain to be able to see things differently. So I love it when people write stuff down, not just think about what little victories you have. You have to write it down. So I'm going to have these 300 people write down a bunch of their little victories, and I'm going to have them sort of look at their career, look at their business. It's kind of a mixed group. And I'm going to say, okay, what of those little victories are pointing you to things that you need to do? Is it, I don't know, make a better relationship with this vendor because they're doing some amazing things? Is it, take the company or the product or the service in a different direction? Absolutely, it's all there. If you start to look at your little victories, you can have amazing creative potential.
Yeah, I love the focus on little victories. I think that applies to a lot of different areas of life, actually, when we're looking at motivations, just finding success more generally. We have to find ways to build confidence, and those little victories give us that confidence. And from a creativity standpoint, it's the same thing. If we start to look out and recognize the small successes that we have had already, then we can definitely move forward and continue with that sustained effort, right? That
Yep,
we've been talking about, so that we are able to do really, really cool things.
definitely.
I know we're about out of time. Before we part ways, though, I wanted to give you a chance to give the last word and to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, how they can find your book, anything else that may be upcoming for you before we close.
Yeah, definitely. So the book's on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. It's available all over the world. It's being translated into 2 languages. It's called The Creator Mindset. I would love to hear from your listeners and see what they think of the book. I have a website. It's nearbashan.com. Don't worry, there's I think 3 near Bashans in the entire world. I'm not the one uploading Call of Duty clips. That's not me. Or like there's a girl who's like has a Pinterest that looks like she spent maybe 3 years on. It's like clothed and all that. That's not me. It looks good though. The stuff is, really, really nice work. So I'm easy to find. I'm on Insta and Facebook and all those different sites. We have a community on my website. I would love for people to join. It's free. It's moderated, so no 99-cent Viagra ads. It's really about asking and receiving information. It's Adam Grant and Wayne Baker's system. So really, really cool, free. So I would love to meet your listeners on there and continue the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Neer. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. The time has flown by, and I'd love to continue the conversation, so perhaps we can do this again sometime. But I really do hope that listeners will challenge maybe a preconceived mindset that you have around creativity and innovation. Um, just because you're analytical doesn't mean you can't be creative, right? and
Absolutely.
and there's just so many things we can do to foster both an innovative culture, but also innovative practices that can lead to daily small wins and daily creativity to help our organizations to be successful. I know that's what you talk about in your book. I hope listeners will check that out. Check out Neer, get connected with him on LinkedIn and other social media. Go to his website, get engaged in that community. And I hope everyone stays healthy and safe. Have a wonderful week. And I hope everyone can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. Thank you.